So remember, because these two are not in parentheses, that means they are going to be our area. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to plug these in. Oh. Sorry, sometimes I forget about you back there. All right, so I have 18C and I have a positive 24 over here for my area. To find my height, what am I going to do? Factor tree. Very good. So two numbers that multiply to get 18 are 2 and 9. 2 is prime, so we're going to circle it. 3 and 3 multiply to get 9, right? All right, now let's do 24. Two numbers that multiply to get 24. 3 and 8. I heard that one twice. We have 4, 2, and then 2 and 2. All right, now let's go ahead and let's write these out. We're going to go ahead and write them over here. So I have 18 is equal to, from smallest to biggest, 2 times 3 times 3. 24 is going to be equal to 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. All right, numbers that 18 and 24 both have in common. 2 and 3. All right, because we have a 2 and a 3, we're going to multiply those both together. So my greatest common factor is going to be equal to 6. Very good. And my 18 has a C, but my 24 does not. So is a C going to be in my greatest common factor?
No.
No. All right, so just 6 is my greatest common factor. I'm going to go ahead and plug that in for my height. And now I can go ahead and find my width. So I have 6 times blank equals 18C. 3. 3C. Very good. My height does not have a variable, but my area does, so that means that my width is going to need one. So 3C, plug that in up there. All right, I have 6 times blank equals 24. 4, right?
Yeah.
That's all right. I appreciate your participation. So go ahead and plug that 4 in up there. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to write the rest of our formula. So A equals height times width. We have our height of 6. We have our width of 3C plus 4. Close parentheses. Oops, don't forget your equal sign. And box your answer. Everyone good with that? Perfect. All right, moving on to our next one we have. So we have 15C squared plus 20C. Let's go ahead and let's plug our areas in. So remember to plug them in order. We have 15C squared. And then we have 20C. To find our height, we're going to go ahead and we're going to factor tree these out. Find our greatest common factor of both. So 15, two numbers that multiply to get 15 are 3 and 5. Both are prime, so go ahead and circle them. Two numbers that multiply to get 20. 2 and 10. 2 is prime. 5 and 2. Circle those. Let's go ahead and write those out. So I have 15 is equal to, thank you, 3 times 5. And then I have 20 is equal to 2 times 2 times 5. Thank you. All right, numbers that are the same in both 15 and 20. 5. Anything else? No. So my greatest common factor is going to equal 5. Let's look at our variables. I have a c squared and I have a c. What's the smallest amount of c's that I have? Just one, right? So 5c is going to be our greatest common factor. That greatest common factor plugs in for our height. So 5c over here. And now we can solve for our width. So I have 5c times blank equals 15c squared. 3 what? 3c. Very good. 5 times 3 is 15. C times c is c squared. All right, plug this 5c in over here. Times blank equals 4. Do we need another c, Jemiah? No, because we have a c, we only need one c. So it's just going to be that number. So our width for our second rectangle is 4. And from here we can plug them in to finish our formula. So A equals height times width, which is going to equal 5c in parentheses because it's more than 2. 3c plus 4. Close parentheses and box my answer. Everybody good with that side or that one? Good, good, good. Yes? No? All right. I will take your silence as golden. All right, now we're going to use the area model to distribute. You guys are pros at this. So our first number and our second number, what are they going to be in our height, width, and area model? Brendan. Is going to be my what? My height. Very good. That means, excuse me, 2a plus 5 is my width. Let's go ahead and let's plug those in. So I have 3a. I have 4. Up top I have 2a. And I have 5. And now we can solve for our areas in each rectangle. So for our first red rectangle we have here, our height is going to be 3a. Our width is what, Imagine? What's our width for that red rectangle? 2. 2a, right? For an area of, Haley? 6a squared. Very good. All right, let's go down. Let's look at this blue rectangle we have. Oh my. So I have a height of 4. I have a width of 2a for an area of 8a. Thank you. All right, up here, orange rectangle. I have a height of 3a, a width of 5 for an area of 15a. And then down here, let's do a purple. I have a height of 4, a width of 5 for an area of 20. Very good. Let's go ahead and let's write out what we have. So we have 6a squared plus 8a plus 15a plus 20. My final answer, yes or no? No. Oh gosh, where did the rest of my numbers go? Oh, there. All right. Not my final answer because I have to combine like terms, right? So what are my like terms that I have up here? Nick, what are my like terms? Perfect, thank you. So 8a and 15a are going to equal 23a. Okay. So up here, my final answer is going to be 6a squared. I bring that 6a squared down because it has no like terms with it. Plus 23a plus 20. Thank you. Is my answer done?
No, you have to bounce it.
Thank you. Trick question. All right, good job. Good job at your refreshers. Mrs. Lidekin, they are on the back.
So we're going to do the back a little bit opposite. We're going to talk about a couple things first. So we're going to go ahead and do the first example problem, and then once we get through the first example problem, I'm going to have you take those 5-step notes. So when you're given something like this, we don't know what the height is, and we don't know what the width is, but we do know what the total area is. But what's wrong with this? We know that there's, how many areas are there up there? But how many boxes do I have? 4. So, right? So that's a problem. We've got to figure out what the area is going to be of one of the boxes. So this 10e squared, where do you think that's going to be the area of? Yeah, this here. This 6, what do you think that area is going to be? Where do you think the area of 6 is going to be? Okay, so this 23e is going to be split between these two. Because remember how we usually do the combined like terms, a split between these two rectangles? Well, we've got to figure that out. What was the whole point of the MA method? That's what you're going to use now. So we have to use the MA method to determine what the area is going to be of each of these rectangles. But we also have to determine how do we even find out what the factors are going to be for my M and A. So what you're going to look at is the first coefficient and third coefficient. Well, what does the word coefficient mean? Yeah, what does that mean? What am I talking about when I say I want what's my first coefficient in here and my third coefficient? What am I talking about? If I ask, what's my first coefficient, what's my third coefficient? It's just numbers. So you're going to take your first coefficient and multiply it by your third coefficient. That's going to be your M. So multiply 10 times 6. Don't worry about the variables right now. So what's 10 times 6?
60.
So there's your M. So you're going to write it off over to the left. Write small because we're going to have a lot of work in this little space. So from there, we're going to find our A. Well, what coefficient have I not used yet? So that's going to be my A. Okay, so there's my MA. So what I need to do are list the factors of 60 and then determine which of those factors I can then add together to get 23. So what are my factors of 60? Well, 1 and 60. Can I add those together to get 23?
No.
Oh, that's really small. You can't see that, can you? Okay, what about 2 and, what's the other one? 2 and 30. Does that equal 23? Okay, what about 3 times what? 3 times 5 gets me to 60? 3 times what gets me to 60? 20. Okay, so 3 times 20 gets me to 60. 3 plus 20, does that get me to 23? So there's my MA. So I'm going to circle that because I'm going to use those two numbers. Now that I have my MA, I'm ready to go ahead and start filling out the areas of my circle. I know we're running out of time. I want to at least get the areas down, okay? So my first area of this square, you guys said is what? What's the 10e squared, okay? And you guys told me the area of my bottom rectangle is going to be 6. Now, this here, we're going to break my MA between these two rectangles. I like to put my larger number up here. It does not matter. You can put your 3 there. You can put your 20 there. It does not matter. Our answers will be a little bit different, but as long as we all end up with the same numbers, we're fine. But I'm going to put my 20 at the top. And at the bottom, what's my other area I'm going to use? 3. Now, what variable, when I take 3 plus 20, I need to get 23e. So which variable should the 23 have on behind it? E. Okay. Now, That's step 1. That's step 2. Step 3. We're now going to find the greatest common factor. Remember how you guys found out how to find the greatest common factor of numbers? Well, now in order to figure out the rest of our area model, I need to find the greatest common factor of my top row. So you guys can do it in 2 different ways. You can continue doing the factor trees to find out what the greatest common factor is, or you can stop and think, what's the greatest common factor? What factor does 10 and 20 both share? We know? No? Okay, so let's do the factor tree real fast. So I'm going to come over here, 10, 20.
Oh, 2.
So what's the largest number they both share?
5.
So we do 10, we do 20, 2, and 5. 20, it's 2 times 2 times 5. So they share 2 and they share 5. So what's the greatest common factor? No, they share 2 and they share 5. So what is it? 10. What variable do they share? E. So the height of this set of rectangles is going to be 10e. Deontay, have a seat. I'm not done. I want to see this on your paper before you go. So for the top, we know the height and we know the total area. If I know the height and I know the total area, what else do I need to find out? For the top, we're just focusing on the top right now. I know my height, I know my area, the width, yeah. So I'm going to take my height times something, my height times something, and now I'm going to find my width, okay? 10e times what gets me to 10e squared? So 10 times what gets me to 10? 1. I have 1e at the top. I need 2, so how many more e's do I need in there?
1 more.
1 more e. So I'm going to write my width up at the top. Do I need to put that 1 in front of there? Nah. So then I'm going to come to my second. I have 10 times something gets me to 20. 10 times what equals 20?
2.
2. I have an e at the top. Do I need another e at the bottom?
No.
So the width of this rectangle is?
2e.
Okay, just 2. Oh, we're almost done. You guys, bear with me. I promise you. This is the last time I'll ever keep you this late. Now, this is where it gets tricky. I know the area. I don't know the height, but what do I know about these rectangles down here? What do I now know about these rectangles? I don't know the height, but I know the what? The width. What's the width of this one here? No, what's the width of this one here?
10.
What's the width?
Squared.
E.
Oh.
What's the width of this rectangle? 2. Okay, so now we're going to find a height. Think about it. What times e will get me to 3e, but then I can also take that same number times 2 to get 6. 3, yeah. So what's the height of this rectangle?
3.
3. And now all you do is plug your answers in. Okay? So we're going to plug our answers in. What's my height?
10
10e
plus 3.
plus 3. And then what's my width?
E plus 2.
E plus 2. Get that down. The only thing I'm going to ask is that you get that down. Once you get that down, put it all in your folder. We'll resume this tomorrow.